Greetings, you all. Greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I'm your melanated queen and your hostess, Lil Foxy, aka Seven Wonder. I hope you all have had a great weekend, a wonderful Veterans Day, 11/11. Everybody's saying that the portals are opening. This is what they're saying. But anyway, you all, I did not do a live stream for F Your Feelings Friday. I was extremely tired. But I hope, everybody did have an amazing weekend. And so today's topic, we're going to be talking about how white folks got so rich. I'm going to do a book review, and you all, I'll go ahead and put that title at the bottom of the screen. So take a look. If you are enjoying my content, make sure you like, share, subscribe. And if you feel like you would like to make a contribution, you can cash app $ BGAB clothing. All right. So without any further ado, I'm going to come on camera so you can all see me. All right. Hello, you all. Hello, hello. I did not do my hair as I had planned this weekend, so hence you see the ponytail, but it is blow dry. Okay. So this is what's going on. Scoop this a little bit closer because my voice is so light. You, I might have to actually hold the microphone, which I hate doing. I feel kind of crazy doing this. So maybe I'll put it here and I'll just try to point it more directly towards me. How about that? Does this work? Is that a little bit better? I don't know. Try to oh, see how this works. Okay. All right. So we got something going, okay? All right, it's been a whole lot of things happening this weekend. You had the Kiki Palmer thing going on. We had the Tamar Braxton and James Wright Chanel got attacked by Krishan Rock. You all, I just got to say this about it because I really don't talk about them that much, these celebrities, but I don't even consider Krishan Rock a real celebrity. I don't think there's a lot of talent going on there from what I heard. I listened to a few videos and it looks like the world, for some reason here in America, like to actually, what do they like to do? They like to boost up and they like to, give a whole lot of credit to people that really, to me, don't deserve credit. Like when you're acting irate, hostile, wild, out of control, no class, and you think you can go out here and attack people for no reason just because you feel like it. Like, I don't feel sorry for people like that. And I feel that she needs to be reprimanded because personally, there's no reason to do that. Why are you going out here and attacking someone because you didn't get your chance to perform at someone else's concert? There's a better way to handle that. And when you get of a certain age, you need to conduct yourself as an adult, especially when you have given birth to a child. You all, like, I don't know why people still put these people on a celebrity pedestal, idolize these people. It's nonsense. They are doing nothing but causing pandemonium in society and trying to get people to follow suit with their nonsense and their silly antics. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into this book review, you all. It's called How White Folks Got So Rich. And I actually downloaded this a few years ago. And I meant to actually revisit this a while ago, but I did not. So let me see if I can share my screen and let's get into it, you all. Okay, so we're not there. Let's go here. Okay, let me see. Can I share my screen? Present. Share screen. Okay, here we go. All right, I think we have it up here. Now what I'm going to do is going to go back for a minute so that you can actually see the, oh, I don't think it's going to come up. I wanted you to see the actual, what the book looked like the cover of the book. There it is. How white, okay, so it flashed up there. All right, so right here we go. How white folks got so rich, the untold story of American white supremacy. I don't consider it white supremacy. I would say it's inferiority, because anytime you have to oppress another group of people, you're expressing the fact that you feel inferior. And that's how I look at it. Okay? I don't know how you all look at it, but that's how I look at it. Okay? So, let's get into this book, you all. Now, I thought I had it pulled up here on my tablet while I read along with you all. But if I don't have it on my tablet, I'll just read it off the screen. Okay? No big deal. No big deal at all. Let me see if I can make it bigger for you, so we can all see this together. There we go. That should be better. Okay. Here we go, you all. Stolen Legacy. Let's begin. Okay, so it says working hard or hardly working. If you do not understand white inferiority, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. Dr. Neely Fuller Jr., the foundation of American white inferiority, sits tenuously on a rickety base of myths, lies, and deceptions. A century and a half after the end of legal slavery, white families average $113,000 in wealth, but for black families, it's just $5,600. More than a quarter of black families have no assets at all. Now, I would say that unfortunately, this is still going on today. I don't think a whole lot has changed. I think a lot of melanated communities are still basically suffering from what has happened to them. And this is why I talk about it so much on the channel, because the more that we are aware of it, the more that we can start taking proactive measures to overcome. Unfortunately, this is, the nature of what we have succumbed to in this society that has tried to keep us oppressed, you all. All right, let's continue. More than a quarter of Black families have no assets at all. The wealth gap between whites and melanated people has quadrupled since 1984 and is now wider than it has ever been. Even high income melanated people have assets of only $18,000, while middle income whites have $74,000. Now, how do you think this happens? Let's talk about it for a minute. How do you think something like this takes place? Do you think this was by accident? No, this was not by accident. This was simply by design. Okay. One thing they do is keep melanated people away from the financial resources. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. Okay. So when you go to certain communities, you will notice that there's a price point in that community that a lot of melanated people cannot afford. Okay. This is deliberately done. Um, this is a form of redlining. And blockbusting is when, let me tell you what blockbusting is. When basically they try to, oh, and there's also something called steering, when they try to get you not to move into a certain neighborhood. Okay. And then the banks, they also do it as well. They're not supposed to. So, Bank of America came up with a program just last year, I believe, and it is highly geared towards melanated families, Hispanics, and you have to live in a certain area, I think a certain threshold, a certain community, basically where they're helping people to gain housing. But I would just say be very cautious sometimes when people are seeming like they're helping you, because you just never know. Um, So yeah, basically there's certain communities that are priced out of, certain people's price points, and this is done deliberately. They're trying to keep that area a certain type of way. And it is unfair, but I do have to say, sometimes melanated people, when they move into certain communities, certain people don't uphold the community the way they should, and they can bring down the value of property if they don't do what they should do in that community. So that could be some reason for it. There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of crime, that melanated families are trying to get away from. Another way that they keep, the wealth out of melanated communities is basically on jobs. They will not hire you. It does not matter your degree. It does not matter your experience. It does not matter your skill set. If they don't want you in their company, if they don't want you in their department, they will not hire you. Or if they do hire you, they're going to pay you less than your counterparts. You can, and this, I talked about this before on the channel. Basically, in my line of work, what I was doing with insurance claims, there was a melanated female with a master's degree, and she was doing very well, but the counterpart was Caucasian. She got hired with no degree, and she started making more than everybody in the department. Okay, and these are just things that take place. For instance, melanated people that have overcome or have made mistakes in their past. I know personally someone that, had something on their background from when they were like 20 years old, went and got their bachelor's degree, went and got their master's degree, did a double major in business, and basically were supposed to start jobs. Every time they went to apply or to start for the job, they snatched the job away from them, took the job away, even though the person had basically redirected their life, changed their life around. They're not a bad person. They're not a violent person. They just made some mistakes in life being young. And I know this person individually, and, they grew up in foster care. They were, orphanages when they were young, moving around. The mother back then was, indulging in substances. They didn't have the father. So I would say, to overcome all of those things and to actually gain a master's degree, you beat the odds, but the jobs don't look at that. They don't care about that. Okay. So it's things like that. And another reason that it impacts melanated people so much is because we don't own anything. So we don't really sit in a place where we can make decisions to hire and fire people. When they do give us a position, it's always at the lowest of the totem pole, and it's always the lowest department. So if you do find a supervisor or managers, they're going to be in the lowest department. Now, the way that they're able to climb the ladder is basically they have to kiss a lot of ASS. Okay. And there are people that want to act and acquiesce to what the Caucasian wants them to fit into. So you basically have to code switch. You have to pretend. You have to be something that they want you to be. If you speak your mind, you will not get these positions. I know this firsthand, okay, because I'm the type of person that will speak my mind on a job. I'm not going to stand for someone mistreating me, antagonizing me, and terrorizing me simply because I came to do my work. Another thing that melanated people go through is harassment on jobs. If you ever go to, what is it called? They do have the NAACP, but you can't trust that because some of these organizations were not actually founded by melanated people. EEO, a lot of melanated people will be there at the office complaining about harassment from managers and supervisors on jobs. This is done on a whole nationwide, multinational level. I even know that one of the channel subscribers, she was actually stationed out in China with her husband, and she did not get paid on the job, and she was being antagonized in China. They see the other nationalities and other ethnic groups. They see the melanated group of people, especially melanated women and females, as a target of people that they can mistreat, and they feel like they can do it and nothing will happen. I've actually had an attorney that told me that, in my situation, they were borderline breaking the law, basically. Okay. And they do this because they know they can get away with it. My mother went through it. I went through it. My friend in Dallas went through it. Her mother went through it. My friend that owns a cleaning business, she went through it. Um, One of our counterparts that worked at a certain credit card company, she went through it. So if you're a melanated female and you're out here on the corporate plantation in the corporate arena, you're going to get antagonized, you're going to be harassed, you're going to be targeted. It doesn't matter what type of job you do. If you're a good worker, it doesn't matter. This is just what they do. And I do know someone else that started their own insurance business. And basically, that's why she got out of the corporate arena, because she said, basically, if you work for someone else and you're melanated, you're going to get harassed. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. This is the way that it is, okay? In America, this is just what it is. You're born melanated, especially if you're female. Prepare to be antagonized and harassed on your job. And sometimes this even comes from your own people. I'm going through that right now as we speak. And so I've actually gone ahead and made arrangements to do other things, because I don't tolerate that. I'm far well beyond that. I already know what this comes with, and it's just not worth the stress, you all. So just, always have, like I said, multiple sources of income. You all know that I talk about that on this channel a lot. Start a business, have multiple things that you do, because sooner or later the job is going to act up. They don't care about you, and you're going to be the first. They're going to cut you. They're going to let you go. They don't really want to see melanated people reach a high level, a higher level than a lot of other people on that job. And then really, you're going to have to work your way from the bottom up. I was talking to a young lady that works in HR about a couple of months ago, a month or two ago. And no, it's like a month ago. And she was telling me that she was the only one of her kind in that department. She actually took a trip out this way because they had some type of meeting, some get together they had to do. And she was just letting me know that she had been at the company for approximately 4 years. They hired a white Caucasian female that knew absolutely nothing about the job. They made up a position for her. The Caucasian female ended up getting a promotion in, like, I don't know, less than 2 years. I think she might have gotten 2 promotions. They made up a position for her. So this is what happens, okay, with the Caucasians versus the melanated people. Melanated people, they're going to put you on the lowest level possible in the department, and then you're going to have to try to work and climb your way up. They're going to expect for you to do a lot of ASS kissing, okay? And so just be prepared, because this is what it's like. I'm just letting y'all know. All right, let's continue to move on. Let's go ahead and share the screen. Okay, let's add it back here. All right, let's share the screen, y'all. And I just had to get into that for a minute. Okay, so let's move on. And to add insult to this never-ending injury, melanated people make up an unlucky 13% of the US population, but own a meager 1% of America's total wealth, and the whites own almost all of the rest. We already know how that happened. We know how that took place. While wealthy whites are getting even richer, all of the financial gains made by the Black middle class over the last 30 years are being totally wiped out by this latest economic downturn called the Great Bush Recession. Now, I want you to keep in mind, this talks about when the Bush president was in office. Bush has been out of office for a number of years now. Since then, we've seen Clinton come into office, and then we've also seen Trump come into office. But this is still the consensus as of today, now that allegedly Biden is in office, okay? And Kamala Harris, what have she done? She's not completely a melanated person, and this is being done deliberately. They give you these false sense of hopes of people that you feel are melanated Obama did nothing for melanated people either, but they give you these people to give you false hope. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, all these people are designed to give you false hope, leading you down the road of oblivion. Since the official start of the recession in 2007, the number of multimillionaires worldwide has exploded. There are now about 170,000 people that are worth $30 million or more, up to 60%, 37,000 people worth $100 million or more, up to 62%, and 1,700 billionaires up to 82% since 2008. The US alone has spawned over 1 million new millionaires. And it says melanated people have been in America longer than any other people, save the American Indian. Yet, of the 10 richest Americans, melanated, there is only one billionaire, which is Oprah Winfrey, and she is ranked as 670th on the Forbes list of wealthiest Americans. Now, keep in mind, they do say that I think Kanye West did reach billionaire status. I think Rihanna has reached billionaire status. I think they said that Jay-Z and Beyonce put together has reached billionaire status. Okay, but just understand that that's still very low on the totem pole when it's compared to your white counterparts. So all the people that are talking about these celebrities, ooh, LeBron James and this Jay-Z and that, get over it, okay? Because when they compare to the likes of a Elon Musk, when they compare to the likes of a Jeff Bezos, when they compare to the likes of the owner of Facebook, I can't think of his name right now, they are very, very, very low on the totem pole, lacking in comparison. All right, let's move on. All 10 are in the entertainment field, and their total wealth, 7.6 billion, amounts to less than 1/10 that of the richest white man, Bill Gates, at $79 billion, and that was back then. But how exactly have America's whites gained their unprecedented 20-to-1 wealth advantage? Question mark. Was it by engaging in hard work? No, it wasn't. Was it by investing wisely? By pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps? No, it wasn't. Or by playing by the rules? No, they never played by the rules. They make the rules and break the rules. It was none of that. The public airwaves are nonetheless filled with the self-righteous pronouncements of media commentators anxious to advise blacks to do what whites do if they want to succeed in America. Now, let's think about this for a minute. See, this is why I don't like taking advice of people that have these podcasts, because when you have all of the odds working against you, how are you supposed to do the same thing that your counterparts are doing when they are not facing the same type of oppression that you're facing? Do you understand that most melanated people have to make very, very, very cautious decisions when it comes to finances, because one little mistake can cause a catastrophe to happen in their households? One little situation that goes awry, a car breaks down, a medical situation, a medical emergency, someone loses their job. These are the things that can cause a freaking financial catastrophic event for a melanated household. And I don't think many people understand what it's like to be melanated in this country, because if they did, they wouldn't be saying the things that they say to melanated people. But let's continue on, you all. All right. So it says here, but exactly how have America's whites gained their unprecedented 21? Okay, so we read that part. Now let me make the screen bigger so everybody can see. All right, let's see the screen bigger. Okay, there we go. There we go, right there. It says here, not only have whites spun a fairy tale about their achievements in America, that whitewashes a very violent and bloody history, but they promote a parallel fantasy that non whites are both congenitally lazy and naturally inferior and are thus responsible for having comparatively nothing. The truth is a whole lot nastier than that. While everybody is about to celebrate, and I'm gonna make my screen. Hold on. While everyone is about to celebrate Thanksgiving, you all, um, I just have to say this: think about the slaughtering, think about the massacre, think about the beheadings of your ancestors. Again, I'm going to repeat: while everybody is about to celebrate Thanksgiving, I want you to also think about the massacre and the beheading and the murder and the slaughtering of your ancestors, because that is exactly what you're celebrating if you celebrate Thanksgiving. You're feasting off the facts of the facts of them being beheaded, being slaughtered on their own territory. This, you all, my friends, is how white folks got so rich. But they don't want to talk about that. So when you drive into these highly affluent neighborhoods and you see them running, jogging, leisurely, casually pushing baby strollers, walking their dogs, and you see their children out playing and riding bikes, understand what it took for their ancestors to do to your ancestors in order for them to gain what they have today. Okay. And this was not that long ago. I want to make that very clear about how white folks got so rich. Let's continue on here. Let's continue on. Okay, here it comes. Now, every mechanism of government, religion, and private enterprise was craftily employed to specifically hamstring Black or melanated prospects for success after slavery, and some of those institutionalized injustices were devilishly ingenious. Let me see here, where are we at? All sectors of American society harmonized to institute a series of affirmative action initiatives which gave white people exclusive material advantages that have nothing whatever to do with either merit or hard work. By gangster force and wily deception, whites aggressively sabotage Black advancement. Talk about the Tulsa, Oklahoma bombings. Talk about, the fact that everything that melanated people do in this country to try to succeed is sabotaged. Let's read on. All right. They employed lynching, mob violence, and domestic terrorism while simultaneously crafting policies and laws to give themselves a vast assortment of privileges, preferences, incentives, subsidies, tax breaks, grants, awards, discounts, investments, exclusives, set asides, exemptions, credits, quotas, deductions, and countless other benefits, hoarding the nation's vast resources along strictly racial lines. Take America's favorite billionaire, Los Angeles Clippers basketball team owner Donald Sterling, born as Donald Tokowitz. Now, with the last name Tokowitz, more than likely he's probably a Jew, a Jew, to immigrant Jewish parents. See, I told you I didn't even read that part. But anytime the last name ends in it's or wits, that's a Jewish name. And then when you hear the last name ending in ski, I had a teacher name is Domaslawski. Usually that's Polish, but this right here is Jewish. He was born to Jewish parents. Despite all the fury directed at him in 2014 for his embarrassing, caught on tape racist rant, he has made $1 million 2,000 times. He started out as a slip and fall attorney, gaming the legal system for a tidy fortune. Then he acquired a pair of large apartment buildings in Los Angeles with lots of melanated, Latino, and Asian tenants. At a time when real estate ventures in LA were seeing returns of over 6,000%. Instead of appreciating the melanated contribution to his astronomical fortune, Sterling was quoted as complaining that melanated people smell and attract vermin, and that Hispanics just smoke and hang around the building, preferring instead Korean tenants because they will pay the rent and live in whatever conditions I give them. His racism was so pervasive that the government actually sued him, winning for the tenants the largest award ever. Incredible, y'all. This is incredible. In 1981, he acquired the Clippers for $12.5 million, in a sport whose most notable talent is almost all black. A black Clippers executive sued Sterling when he not only found out how woefully underpaid he was compared to whites, but also discovered that he worked for a man who wanted to fill his team with poor black boys from the South and a white head coach. Throughout this racial madness and a series of sex based charges, Sterling's wealth just grew and grew, despite the fact that he was a criminal, you all. Recently, Sterling told his girlfriend, "It bothers me a lot that you want to broadcast that you're associating with Black people. And the little I ask you is not to bring them to my games." Far from being penalized, Sterling's racial vomit actually inflated the team's value from a near $1.6 billion to a selling price of $2 billion, an incredible 15,900% return over his 33 years of Clippers ownership. What does that tell you? That tells you that people don't value melanated people, and people capitalize off of the mistreatment of melanated people. So, with each successive expression of racial Neanderthalism, Donald Takowitz, Sterling only inflated his net worth. Sterling's racism appears to be his best and most lucrative investment yet. Doesn't this remind you of Gucci, when Gucci basically had the black face and the big lips, and all of the stupid melanated celebrities kept supporting them despite the fact that they were antagonizing and making fun of melanated people, despite the fact that melanated people have the least amount of wealth, they still pour their resources into the likes of a Gucci, into the likes of a Louis Vuitton, into the likes of a Coach. I see so many women walking around with these bags into Prada, into Chanel, into all of these name brands, and yet you don't own land, you hardly own real estate, but you buy these cars, you buy all of this hair, this weave that comes from other countries. You make the Chinese, the Asians rich. You make the Middle Easterns rich, the Indians rich, and the nail salon owners rich, yet you own nothing. You hardly have any businesses of your own. You don't support your own businesses. You always want to haggle, negotiate, bargain when it comes to your own melanated people. You don't value yourselves. And this is why you have no value and no worth. Let's continue. Though he is wildly wealthy, no one will claim that Donald Tokowitz Sterling achieved his wealth by any remarkable intelligence. Sterling himself is the best evidence that his whiteness alone secured for him an all access pass to an exclusive network and system of wealth generation that guaranteed him and others of his white skinned brethren financial success. And it is not just his racist thinking, it is his racism coupled with his exploitation of black talent. He said of his black players, "I support them and give them food and clothes and cars and houses. Who gives it to them? Does someone else give it to them? Do I know that I have? Who makes the game? Do I make the game or do they make the game? Is there 30 owners that create the league?" Not a single paying basketball fan pays to see Sterling do anything. Yet Sterling, like the plantation master who never touches the cotton, field believes that it is his talent that is irreplaceable. And here you have a picture of LeBron James. Basically, what they're saying, you all, LeBron James is like one of those cotton picking plantation slaves playing for the slave master, hence the owner of the game. Okay, plantation owners, sports team owners, plantation workers, NBA players, plantation workers, NFL players. Okay, Black people don't own anything. Melanated people don't own a league, own a team. Melanated people have generally accepted and internalized Sterling's delusion, even though all the math shows Blacks to be the true power brokers. Basketball star LeBron James' decision to return to Cleveland will garner him $22 million a year, but that decision alone instantly doubled the value of the Cavaliers team to $1 billion. When the season starts, he will add 48 million a year to the downtown economy, and crowds are expected to rise by 6,500 fans a game, who will each pay at each of the 41 home games an additional $180 for parking, hotel rooms, meals, and drinks at restaurants and bars. And LeBron's games in other cities will have a similar effect. So, who gives Sterling and the majority owners of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Dan Gilbert, their food and their clothes and their cars and their houses? The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. asked, why does white America delude itself, and how does it rationalize the evil it retains? He concluded quite harshly that white people's beliefs in the fairness of America is a fantasy of self-deception and comfortable vanity. Donald Sterling answers Dr. King for all of white America. Nothing has been more profitable than racism, not platinum, not gold, and not oil. This book examines America's complex architecture of white inferiority. From the executive, judicial, and legislative branches of government to private enterprise of every type, from the media to the labor unions to the religious institutions, all have agreed on one thing: the white race must prevail always and in all ways by any means necessary. As Dr. King said, white America may have deluded itself, but Blacks need not continue to play along. The odious underbelly of white people's oft claimed superiority must now be exposed. This is the untold story of the American white inferiority. This is how white folks got so rich. And then it talks about the Indian land grab from the very start of Europe's colonization of America. Yeah, let's talk about that, because this is another factor that plays a very important role in why we are in the situation that we are in today. All right. So, the Indian land grab from the very start of Europe's colonization of America, the invading settlers were begging their British king to destroy the savages at an even faster rate than he already knows. The king's slowness to annihilate the Indians was one of the reasons the founding fathers wanted to separate from England. Their Declaration of Independence calls them the merciless Indian savages, and the early Thanksgiving holidays were little more than the celebrations of successful racial massacres. Didn't I just talk about this a few minutes ago? Exactly right. Let me make this screen bigger so you all can see this yourselves. Yeah, let's make the screen bigger, because I want you all to be able to read this as well. And it's right here. Thanksgiving holidays were little more than celebrations of successful racial massacres. So this comes in divine timing. This message comes in divine timing while you feast and sit around a plate full of turkey, dishes full of macaroni and cheese, collard greens, all of these things that gives you high blood pressure, causes you to have to go to the doctor. The Red Holocaust was systematic, calculated, and extremely profitable. Colonial merchants supplied the British, Dutch, French, and American armies to ethnically cleanse the Indian nations from their ancestral lands. Once the armies retreated, it was the merchants who surveyed and divided the land into lots and began selling them to the white settlers. The land's value was created out of the thin air, and these property rights were then protected by the U.S. government. Legendary American frontiersmen like Daniel Boone and even George Washington, pre-presidency, were actually surveyors in the employ of these merchants, measuring out property lines and killing any Indians that remained. Now, we don't ever learn about this in school, in history class, the slaughtering of the American Indians. No, they don't teach us that. They teach us about George Washington, and I've heard of Daniel Boone, but they don't really talk about the real situation. And then also, I remember in elementary school, them telling us about the Pilgrims, telling us about the Indians, and then having us to color turkeys, having us to actually basically color turkeys and celebrate these egregious holidays that massacred our ancestors. They made a mockery of us in school, and they are making a mockery of us until today because so many melanated people don't care about the fact that their great, great, great grandmothers and grandfathers were massacred for their land. And this is why a lot of them are living in the projects. This is why a lot of them don't have houses, don't have any financial wealth, financial prosperity, financial literacy. Between 17, okay, let's see what it says here. In 10 months, the force Washington led had fought 20 battles against the people who had lived on the land for thousands of years between 1787 and 1871. Okay, so that shows you that George Washington, and see, and that's how you know this whole Christopher Columbus thing was a freaking lie. Oh yeah, 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, but Indians were already living here, meaning us, the indigenous people, the Native Americans of this land, and this is what they did to our people. Between 1787 and 1871, America entered over 400 treaties with the Indians and promptly broke every last one of them, meaning they lied, they deceived, they didn't keep their word. President Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act of 1830, and Andrew Jackson was a racist, initiated a series of genocidal wars against the remaining Indian nations. The policy confined the survivors to about 310 reservations where they can be found today. Y'all, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I will be back in just a moment. This is egregious. It is sickening. It's sickening, y'all. Are back. Thank you so much for your kind patience. You all, this is complete and utter nonsense. It is disheartening and it is sickening, but yet we must know the truth. So let's continue on, people. Let's continue on. Let's learn about your white counterparts, okay? A lot of people don't want to admit the truth, but they're going to get this work today, y'all. All right. F your feelings Friday. Yeah, the Dawes Act. This talks about Massachusetts Congressman Henry L. Dawes drafted federal legislation enacted in 1887, which ordered the registering of Indians so that they could receive an allotment of their own land. Have you ever like driven down the road and you saw land for sale and it's in spots that you wouldn't even imagine that it would be for sale for? And you're like, who gave, how do they know who owns this land? And then all of a sudden they're selling it. Like, who gave them the right to sell the land? Like, I wonder that a lot. Like when I'm riding down the road, I'm like, oh, they're selling this piece of land. All of a sudden, this piece of land is for sale. Like, how do they know who owned this land and how do they get the rights to sell it? This is how. So let's continue on. Um, but to get on the Dawes roll, Native Americans had to change their names to make them English sounding. You see how evil these people are? Forced them to change their last names so they could sound English sounding. This allowed white officials to slip the names of their relatives and friends onto the Dawes rolls and illegally reap for themselves millions of acres of land, you all. In one state alone, the 138 million acres of Indian held land at that time of the Dawes Act in 1887 had been reduced to 47 million acres by 1934. So the land was 138 million acres that was held by Indians. And then by 1934, it had reduced to 47 million acres because this is how these people tricked them out of their land and stole their land and killed them for their land, murdered them, okay? Bloodshed when the act was repealed. Ultimately, the Indian Holocaust, people don't want to talk about this, but we always have to learn about the Jewish Holocaust in middle and high school. I'm sorry. We always have to learn about the Jewish Holocaust. I learned about that in fourth grade. I was in elementary school. We are always told about slavery, indentured slaves. We're never told about the Indian Holocaust because they don't want to tell the truth to us about what they did to us. Okay, netted for the white man 2.3 billion acres of freaking free land. Land that has a government estimated value of $4,000 per acre of $9.2 trillion, y'all. This is some mess. This is some freaking mess. Mm, 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 mm. Let's read this right here. Though not total savages, they are very primitive and ignorant. They do nothing besides loafing and begging and say, me work no. In conversation with several of them, I found that they have no particular home and are heathens. This is what Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise, the most prominent rabbi in American history, said about your native people. And he's recognized as a prominent rabbi in American history. Why do we need to recognize him? He's a heathen. Slavery, the most profitable business of all time, because we are still enslaved, you all. I hope y'all know that. Everything in the Western world, its cities, institutions, and wealth is built on the profits of Black slavery. Let me make this bigger so you all can read this. All right, here we go. Everything in the Western world, y'all, meaning right here in America, everything is sickening. It is complete and utter ridiculousness. All right. I'm just making sure I can be heard. Let me see something here. Making sure I can be heard. Okay. I think I'm good. Oh, y'all, this is when you really think about how we are impacted today, it's really messed up. It's so messed up. That's why we cannot afford the nonsense that we do to that people I'm not going to include myself in it because I don't do the nonsense that goes on, but a lot of people are causing friction with one another. Melanated people are infighting, and it's no need for it when you have all of this going against you. Okay. So now we see everything in the Western world, its cities, institutions, and wealth is built on the profits of Black slavery. Paris, Rome, London, New York, name the place, and its riches are the spoils of the greatest criminal endeavor in the history of the universe. If all the books ever written were dedicated solely to the subject, they could only begin to elaborate on the shameful fact. According to leading sociologist Joseph F. Fegan, the sum total of the worth of all the melanated labor stolen by whites through the means of legal slavery, legal segregation, and contemporary racial discrimination is truly staggering, perhaps in the range of 5 to 24 trillion dollars. Private sales of A Valuable Engineer by Alonzo J. White will be sold. It says at private sale, George, a prime young fellow about 25 years of age, a first something engineer capable of taking to something steam a engine and pulling it up again. Isaac A. Good Carpenter. Several single Negroes and families. Um, Apply above at my office, number 27 Broad Street, February 4th. Melanated people were believed to be so essential to white advancement that whites built thousands of ships over hundreds of years, sailed thousands of miles over treacherous oceans, instigated brutal African wars. They still do this today. Captured and imprisoned the African people, brought them back thousands of miles to the Americas, exploited their labor, and sold them on the open market, enslaving them forever. These Africans were by no means savages, as has been advanced by historians seeking to justify the atrocity. A close reading of the newspaper advertisements placed by American slave traders reveals that blacks were skilled artisans and craftsmen at the highest levels. It is easy to find slave sale ads selling engineers, carpenters, cowboys, shipbuilders, mechanics, stonemasons, nurses, blacksmiths, seamstresses, weavers, shoemakers, and bakers. Melanated slave laborers built America's infrastructure, including its buildings, roads, bridges, and railways. Melanated slaves built the president's house and the Capitol in Washington, D.C. They Melanated slaves built the mansions that grace southern plantations. Melanated people built America just as they built the pyramids in Egypt and then gave civilization to the European. Whatever might be credited to white labor was nonetheless financed by profits from the cotton, sugar, and tobacco crops, all made possible by the African slave labor. But let us just take the most celebrated American, George Washington. At one point in his ignominious life, he held as many as 350 melanated Africans, 92 of them children. The high ratio of children to adults indicates Washington was a slave breeder, a major industry in his home state of Virginia. What could one do today with that many lifelong unpaid employees? A sardonic Ralph Wiley wrote. Give me the free labor of one black person for 1 year. I would be a rich man. Give me the free labor of a dozen black people for 1 year. I will be a very rich man. Give me the labor of millions of black people over 250 years. I will be America. It's sickening, you all. And then they have in here these fake ass US presidents and the black Africans they enslave. You have George Washington enslaving 350 slaves, Andrew Jackson, 200 slaves, Thomas Jefferson, 200 slaves, James Madison, 106 slaves, John Tyler, 75 slaves, James K. Polk, 25 slaves, Zachary Taylor, 150 slaves, Ulysses S. Grant, 5 slaves. James Monroe, 75 slaves. Martin Van Buren, 1 slave. And William H. Harrison, 11 slaves. Andrew Johnson, 8 slaves. How white folks got so rich, the untold story of American white inferiority, you all. I would highly recommend you get this book. It is written by George, I think his name is George James. This is it just infuriates me when I actually when you really think about the depths and the magnitude of what they've done to our people, to our ancestors, to our great 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 grandparents, great 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 grandparents, what they must have gone through and what we do to each other today. Like I said, you all, we don't really have time to be infighting. We don't have time to be trying to be jealous of one another. We don't have time for this stupid stuff about being envious of each other. Oh, she thinks she's cute because she has hair. Oh, that's her real hair. Oh, she thinks she's cute because she looks this certain way. Like, get over it. They have basically oppressed us all. If you have any type of melanin in your skin, they have oppressed us all. Okay. And just because you're a little bit light skinned or you're highly light skinned doesn't really mean anything. And you all, I think we need to actually examine Willie Lynch, the makings of a slave, again, because people act like they don't get it. So, like I said, you all, this message comes in divine timing because if you're sitting around eating your turkey, eating all these things that you eat during Thanksgiving time, having your feast, understand what you're doing. You are still celebrating and the celebratory practices, feasting upon the massacre of your indigenous people and your ancestors and the stealing of their land, the stealing of your land, the stealing of your future generations' land, and the oppression of your people and yourself. Okay. So just understand that any type of holiday that these people put in front of us is not meant for us to celebrate. And they are making a mockery of us every year when we do this. I will not be partaking in this nonsense any longer. I don't suggest that you do it, and I don't suggest that you have your children to do it because we are giving energy to the oppressor that has basically caused us to be in the situations that we're in today. This is why it's so hard for us economically as a people. Even in the real estate industry, I see that so many melanated people aren't able to afford housing. It's because lack of credit, because lack of savings, lack of income. And why are you in that situation? Read this book. Understand why you are economically oppressed, financially illiterate. And some of you have no interest in being financially literate. You're more concerned about Krishan Rock attacking Tamar's friend James Wright Chanel on stage. You're more concerned about Keke Palmer's baby daddy, Darius Jackson, when we have far more important things to worry about. Yes, no one should be attacking other people, but your freaking ancestors were massacred. Okay? Those people have money. Y'all are living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of people are. And they are only just a paycheck away from being homeless. Like I said on my last video, they have already predicted that in 2026, there's going to be an influx of melanated people being homeless in America. And you would like to watch celebrity entertainment and gossip into the road of freaking oblivion. It is sickening. And it is sad. And it's very disgraceful and distasteful for the ancestors that built this land for you to live on. And you give it away and allow them to keep it. And you don't even fight for your rights because you're worried about entertainers. that have already sold themselves to the devil, and you want to follow suit. You all, this has been an episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. If you enjoy this content, if you like this content, please like the content, share this content, and subscribe to this channel because we are going in over here. And please feel free to donate to the Cash App. That is BGAB Clothing all day, every day. It is hashtag no days off. We will continue to walk in our divinity over here. And, if your feelings Friday, we might bring it back. I want it to be consistent, but like I said, I have been having having no voice, but my voice is coming back. I'm just reading something here because it looks like StreamYard has implemented a new feature, and I just saw that pop up. So I'm going to take a look at that once I sign off. We've been on here for about approximately 1 hour already. So I want to thank you so much for all the new subscribers. Shout out to Rico Star. If you watch this, if you see this, please forgive me. I think I accidentally blocked you. But hopefully you get to see this video some way, somehow, some shape, some form. And thank you for everybody that has been rocking with me since day one. All right, you all. Take care and stay blessed. Auf Wiedersehen. Heute ist Sonntag. That means today is Sunday. And we're signing out. Tomorrow is Montag. All right, y'all. Stay blessed. Take care. And let's build this financial wealth. We are creating economic ownership. Okay. T-Gresh Realty, be the CEO of your financial future. Create economic ownership. That's what being a CEO of your financial future is like. What does that mean? Celebrate yourself. Build your own business. Own a home. Own some real estate. Buy land. And, natural resources is where it's at. Buying all these name brand celebrity Coach bags, Prada bags, Louis Vuitton bags for Christmas, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's going to get them richer and you owing bills and being in more credit card debt. Okay. It's not doing anything for you. Stop trying to impress strangers that don't know you. Life is very short lived here on planet Earth. And by the time you leave here, when you go wherever you got to go, when you leave here, these strangers that you're impressing on Earth, they're not even going to be thinking about you when you could have left a legacy for your future children. Think about that, okay? And you all, I got to say this, GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy, melanated people. By the time you figure that you are pregnant with a child, having childbirth, you need to have a life insurance policy for that child immediately. You can't afford it because you're affording hair weave. You're affording weed every single day. You want to smoke, roll up. You can afford that. You can afford life insurance policies. There's no excuse. And I'm going to keep talking about it because there's no excuse while we keep hearing that people have set up GoFundMe funds and want to get PayPals and Cash Apps when someone passes away in their family. There's no excuse for that. So anyway, you all, I'm signing out now, finally, for the last time. And thank you so much for joining me. You all stay blessed until next time. All right, signing out. Signing on now. What we gonna play this time, y'all? Let's see.